Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan for our game preview Inside the Birds that's presented by Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. It's the exclusive Jersey Shore resort of Inside the Birds. Let me tell you this. I hope the Eagles, Adam, are as focused as you and I are, and they turn the page the way you and I will turn the page. It has been Dallas week. We're going to break down this Cowboys-Eagles matchup. Don't care about what happened. Well, we sort of do. We're going to have to go back a little bit and look back on the Niners game. But right now, we're all about Eagles-Cowboys, as the Eagles should be, because they need to get their – I know it's hard to say for a 10-2 team, but given what we've outlined about Detroit and Dallas and the Niners here, nipping at their toes, their heels, can't really go into a tailspin right now.
No. Hurts has not lost back-to-back games in a long time, so this is another fascinating part of it about how it's going to go. But it's yet another part of this gauntlet. I've never seen anything like this since you and I've done the show since 2018. I've not seen a schedule like this for them, and I get it. They're one of the elite teams, or one of the best teams, whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
And they're a national team, and this is what happens. It's kind of cool if you're an Eagles fan. At least you get respect for the National Football League and Howard Katz, the scheduler, and his group, and Mike North from the NFL's scheduling office. So they do a great job, and they obviously love the Eagles, and so do the networks.
Yeah, love the Eagles. A lot of prime time. Now, I thought Philadelphia was the only place where when the Eagles lose a game, the negativity, the skepticism, the crazy remarks from like fans on sports. So I thought it was relegated to Philadelphia, but apparently we have some talking heads who work at networks trying to figure out what the problem is with the Eagles. And listen, we're not even going to touch it because it was so ridiculous. We don't need to be, but it's good to know that maybe Philadelphia fan can say, hey, I'm not the only one who overreacts like crazy when a player doesn't do well or my team loses. Even the paid professionals, they do it too.
David Carr, I saw that, and I typically dismiss. I just don't get into that stuff. It's from the so-called talking heads, as you say. Because first of all, you got to get context. You have to actually hear it. I'm big on hearing how discussions go.
Agreed.
But yeah, I mean, it's just Hurts is not playing well. Okay, we get that, but there's no. He's not like anywhere close to being considered being benched, or there's some kind of issue. He's just got to cut it loose. I mean, that's we'll get into that as we break this game down. The guys Avant and Cosell will break it down. And you and I talked to some people this week who've graded the Eagles tape, and we've got some really cool stuff. So we'll get into it. But it's hard to take some of that stuff seriously because you don't know what's the point of saying something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's one thing if Carr was in coaching before and said that, I'm like, okay, I can see where he's coming from, but where would you come up with something like that?
I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of lines that are skeptical, but the whole Marcus Mariota, like better off thing just is like mind boggling to me.
And that's the other part. Like it's one thing if Mariota, and he wasn't, but had played great last year or something, you could say, at least if you're going to throw that in, at least know that the guy has not been the same in like 4 or 5 years. Like, where would come up with this stuff?
I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know. But either we'll talk about the offense obviously as we do. But like you and I sit here right now, the Eagles are 10-2 because of Jalen Hurts, among other things, but because of Jalen Hurts, not in spite of Jalen Hurts. So anything to the contrary is just ridiculous. So
by the way, on that, just real quick, it's last year their defense. We know there are Jonathan Gannon haters no matter what he did. If they could have been the number one ranked defense in every single category, they still wanted the guy fired. They wanted him out. Okay,
right.
So a small percentage of Eagles fan base. Okay, they could not like him if they want. They're human beings. If they don't like him, they don't like him.
Right.
But when you see what's going on now, Hurts is not playing at his elite level as he did last season. The defense can't carry him. They're struggling mightily.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this is it's as I was telling Mike Gill on Tuesday on Football 4, it's almost a minor miracle that they're 10-2. It's still the best record in the National Football League with all their issues, folks. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like how you say that, especially with the issues and the injuries that they've had. To have been able to withstand that shows a lot about what they've been all year long. That was talked about on Q&A this week. Greg Cosell, Clay Harbor did a phenomenal job breaking down Eagles 49ers and previewing Eagles Cowboys. Make sure you check that out. That's on our platform. And this Sunday, Inside the Birds pregame live from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m. on all Inside the Birds platforms, especially YouTube. Postgame will be directly after. We try to do it as soon as we can after the end of the game. I want to direct everybody's attention to InsideTheBirds.com. There's a really good article. It's been a while. Our analytics expert, Sam Finkel, who does an amazing job, he asked me what he could do, what would be interesting from an analytics standpoint, about maybe a month ago. And I said, take your time on this. I want you to go through a couple of games, 2-3 games, and sort of chart the defensive coverages that Sean Desai employs, because we've been talking about this. He plays a ton of different coverages within each game, and still yet to see, for the most part, like back-to-back, same coverage on back-to-back plays. You almost never see it. And I said, that's different than what we saw with Jonathan Gannon. So chart it up. Let's see the results. Let's see the data. And he wrote a great story that's on InsideTheBirds.com right now about it. Now, just to let everybody understand, this is not a story about results. I know everybody's pissed at the defense for the 42-17 law. I get that everybody's upset at Sean Desai and the defense and missed that. That's not what the point of the story is. It's about illustrating what Sean Desai is doing from a coverages standpoint under the Fangio concept, compared to what we saw Jonathan Gannon do, which was not nearly as much, I think, variety. And then you get to learn by reading the story, Adam, what are the coverages. Not only is he alternating between, but the ones that have been successful, the ones that he leans on most when he needs a big play. So it was an excellent job by Sam Finkel. I want to give him a lot of credit. They're doing a phenomenal job for us with analytics. And I thought it was a really insightful story.
So I retweeted it on, let me see, that was Thursday. And man,
I feel like it's a
people,
bad time to have done it because everybody's negative, but again, it's not about the productivity. It's more about,
of course,
yeah.
they don't even read it. It's so many, and I never comment on Twitter anymore, whatever you want to call it, X. It's been a couple of years since I comment on anything other than it's football, other than I'm putting information out or maybe give an opinion. But when people are copying me or they're responding to something I've retweeted or tweeted, whatever the case may be, I don't respond. But I read the column and I'm laughing because, as you just said, they're first of all, I don't even think they're reading the column. They just go by what is tweeted and they respond, oh, well, they don't do this or they don't do it. It's funny. It's like our friend Ruben Frank says, did you even read the column?
Right. Yeah.
Because Ruben goes after his followers because he calls them out when they clearly haven't read it. And I love when they go to Ruben, oh, I don't care. Well, they just respond to it. They don't even want to read the article. They just respond to the headline. I think it's funny. Read the article. It's really good.
Hey, trust me. I think about 4 or 5 times this week, I wanted to reach out to a good friend of mine, Mike Sealski, who I think is pound for pound the best writer, best journalist, best whatever in this city, and tell him,
oh yeah,
hey man, you're great. Honestly, I think he's great. You don't have to defend yourself. Like, you don't have to go on Twitter and defend yourself because somebody didn't read your column and only read either a tweet or a headline that you didn't write. That you don't have to. Your work speaks for itself. And people, it's like, Angelo Cataldi had a great interview with Derek Gunn this week on our platform, Inside the Birds. And Derek Gunn introduced Angelo as, here's a guy, you either disagree with him or you didn't, or you either agreed with him or you didn't, or you loved him or you hated him, and no one's going to change your mind. And that's what I wanted to add. Mike, you're great at what you do. Don't let people, internet trolls, try to convince otherwise, because you can't fight that. But it's just like when we say about athletes, like, you can't fight the battle with fans, even if you're right. I mean, there's no winning with it. So just do your thing, be confident in yourself, right? And move on. So Mike's a great writer, and I felt bad for what happened to him with that Brock Purdy story, because again, people don't read the actual story.
They see the headline. It's controversial.
The headline or a tweet.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I understand where people are, but that's today's social media. I call it anti-social world on social media. People will respond. It's what I've called it since it became hate-filled for years. It's just move on, man. I think Peter King said it. He's like the great Peter King, who's still working. He's working now for NBC Sports. He's like, it's just no point in it. It's like, just, you're not going to win. So just give people your information and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We got a lot of good stuff. We have some injury news. I would say good injury news, mostly for the Eagles coming up.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. We'll break down the offense versus the Cowboys defense, the Eagles defense versus the Cowboy offense, which, by the way, is a white hot offense right now. So there's a lot
Oh,
to get to with this. Let's break real quick to hear a word from our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
All right, Adam, this was a good week for the Eagles in terms of injury news for the most part. The two biggest names that you wondered about were Dallas Goedert. Would he be able to get onto the practice field? Would he play? And Zach Cunningham with the hamstring, and he was sorely missed against the 49ers. So Goddard has basically said, I'm going to play. And both guys have told reporters, don't worry about what I'm listing. I'm going to play on Sunday, which is really good news for the Eagles.
yeah. So let's get to Goddard. So Goddard, because he did have surgery, as he told WIP. You have to give it 4 weeks. You can't come back before that. That's why, though he felt like he could play last week, from a medical standpoint, you can't bring the guy back for 4 weeks. So he's ready to go. He's the only question here is, does he take his normal amount of snaps in the game? That's the only question as of right now, as we speak to you very early Friday morning. Jack Stoll's got a knee issue. He's going to play. Calcaterra's got the same ankle. He'll be available. Julio Jones, well, not that he really is much of a factor. He's got a groin injury. In fact, see, we had someone from another team tell us when they did an advance in the Eagles that they were 100% convinced that the reason why the Eagles were playing so much 10 personnel 11 is because without Goddard, there's other tight ends are just not factors.
Right.
So they're like, well, they're pretty deep with Watkins coming back. They're pretty deep at receiver. And you saw what happened last week against the Niners with a ton of reps that he had. So you would think now with Goddard back, not that they can't play 11 personnel, they'll still play some 11, but this gives them a chance to get Goddard back on the field. And by the way, he got hurt against Dallas in the first matchup, and it was a big play. I mean, he had 3 catches for 50 yards. He might have had a super huge game had he not gotten hurt. So, and also Jaron Kearse did play in that game. I did look that up. He actually did play because he's usually their tight end guy.
Right.
So that's a good thing. Goddard, look, they need that. They're not getting the play out of the middle of the field. That's been a problem since he got hurt, and now they're going to have a chance to get that.
Yeah, your point is great. In practice, did they go real hard at it? Not really, not nearly like a game. So you wonder how many snaps he can play and the blocking element. I don't really worry about the catching element. I worry about the blocking element, his ability to get his hands on the jersey, whether he's coming across the line of scrimmage or just a straight up inline block or even a chip and a release, just how effective he can be. I'm sure he'll probably be wearing something on it, but that's a big part of his game. So, and against this Dallas defensive front, you're going to need, if you keep a tight end into block, whether it's against the run or the pass, the tight end actually has to block. It can't be just like a little bent. So we will see how effective Dallas Goedert is with the forearm. Now, the Julio Jones thing, he didn't practice Thursday. They were inside. And I just want to take this minute to let people understand that when the Eagles practice inside, if you're nursing an injury, a lower body injury, specifically the knee, like Darius Slay, groin here, Julio Jones, or if you're over the age of 30, something like Slay and Jones are, you're probably just not going to practice. I don't think it has that much of a bearing on a game. We'll see if Julio Jones practices Friday because, as we have talked about many times before, that indoor facility, the turf on it is brutal on a player's body. We've mentioned many times Brian Westbrook with the knee that he had going back to tearing his ACL in high school. He would never practice on the turf. And there were times where, in that November, December, where the weather would be bad all week and they would be indoors more than once and he wouldn't practice, but he would play on Sunday. And it was probably good that, he didn't have to practice. He was fresh and ready to go, but they will not expose a player who's nursing a bad knee or a groin or ankle or something to that indoor turf. It's just not worth it.
They've actually replaced it over the years, but it's still hard underneath, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
it's really hard. I remember when I tore my left meniscus many years ago. I would actually It was one I actually would have. I forget who I was working for, but I had to track practice reps and all this kind of stuff. It was bothering me so much. I'd have to go outside and come back because it was bothering me. And yeah, it's in B West. He had a swelling problem
Mm-hmm.
with the surgically repaired the ACL knee. So you got to be careful with that. So we'll see. Julio's got the knee is off the injury report. He's got a groin injury now.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Zach Cunningham, see, I listened to Cunningham's entire interview. He didn't say he's definitely playing. He
Oh, did he? Okay. I
yeah,
thought he said for sure.
yeah, I listened to it. I mean, I
Okay.
actually listened to it, pretty intently. He felt good about what he did. Now, here's the great thing though about him working on Thursday is that even
Mm-hmm.
if he doesn't play, he's almost certain to play the next week unless he has a setback. So this is good. Look, as you said, very well. I agree with you. And Slade, by the way, because of the being indoors, he didn't work because of the knee. But the bottom line is their injury stuff is getting better. By the way, Fletcher Cox, he took all his starters reps coming back from the groin injury, so that's really good. So you're right. They're doing well, and the guys who are off the injury report, DeAndre Swift with the ankle, AJ Brown with a thigh, Devontae Smith with the knee, Lance Johnson with his groin. Remember, so that's really good. So other than that, right now, Milton Williams concussion, Jordan Davis with that hamstring from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Other than Cunningham, we got to see today. Well, I mean, Julio Jones, if he didn't play, I don't think it really would matter much, to be honest with you, if he didn't play. But Goddard's the big one. Flay's got to get through today's practice. Cunningham's got to get through today's practice, and there you go.
All right. Just to clarify, maybe Jeff McClain of the Inquirer caught Zach Cunningham in the locker room after, but the direct tweet he said was Eagles linebacker Zach Cunningham on if he is playing Sunday versus the Cowboys, quote, for sure. So that sounds pretty.
Okay. I hope so.
Sounds, yeah.
I hope so. But I know this. I've been fooled by players before when they say they're definitely playing.
Great
And they
point.
wind up not playing. I feel like a moron when they say that. And it's kind of like Jeff's just repeating what he said when if he asked him or whatever the case, whoever was around there. Great.
Yes.
I hope he does, because the thing that's the biggest surprise with Zach Cunningham is his ability to cover. Like that was always an issue for him in addition to injuries.
Mm-hmm.
What a signing he's been, knock on wood that he's okay, because they're going to need him. Folks, if you thought I said before last game it's going to be a throw ball game, wait till you watch this one.
Great. All right. At least the Eagles are healthy. As you mentioned, those guys who were hurt in previous weeks, relatively healthy, are doing well. Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Swift, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson. So that's by the way, congratulations to Lane Johnson on being nominated as the Eagles candidate to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year. I believe that's what he's the candidate for it from the Eagles. Yeah.
You got to see the video that the Eagles social team put up about how he found out. I'm not going to give it away. It is definitely it moved me. It was super, because you and I have known Lane off and on for going back to 13, and what a great guy he is and what he's had to overcome, and a lot of the fans know as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't seen it, folks, go to find the Eagles Twitter. You go, it's on their website. That's where I saw it. I'm sure they've tweeted it, put it on X. It's only a couple minutes, and it's super cool and super awesome. And you'll know what I mean when certain people speak, and that's all I'm going to tell you if you haven't seen
it. All right, good stuff. Let us move on. We'll talk about the matchups we have to talk about Cowboys injuries in just one second. Yeah. Not too many, but some that we have to mention. But do you know what's just as frustrating, Adam, as your favorite team getting blown out, whether it's basketball or football or baseball, trying to find reasonable tickets to see one of your favorite teams online? That's why everyone needs Game Time. It's the fast, easy way to buy tickets for sporting events, concerts, theater shows near you. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their best price guarantee. They take the guesswork out of buying tickets. And right now on the Game Time app, you're 2 taps away from seeing either the Birds, Flyers, Sixers, local college hoops. You can even see the Nutcracker at the Academy of Music. The best part is Game Time offers event cancellation protection and job loss protection. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. I know. I think that's really special. So their all-in prices show you the total right up front, and you can see the view from your seat, so you know exactly what to expect.
Here's the app.
Yeah. What's that?
I have the app right here to show
it. There it is. Love it. Game Time is obsessed with helping you save money. They offer deals right up to the start of an event and even an hour after it. Their zone deals let you pick the section while Game Time picks the seats to give you the best savings. And they've got the game time guarantee that makes sure you get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less money, Game Time credits you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code BIRDS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redeem code BIRDS, BIRDS, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Nice.
All right. So the Cowboys are a fairly healthy team. I mean, we know about their injured reserve players.
Really healthy, actually.
Yeah,
they're all
very
healthy.
Everybody's healthy.
Their whole roster, the 53 men, all of them are available, except for the guys on IR. We talked about this on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Diggs out for Trayvon Diggs is out for the season with the torn ACL. Van Der Esch with the neck. It's too bad. He's just the way that Stephen Jones, the president, was talking about, didn't sound like he's coming back this season. And Overshown, who was their exciting rookie in training camp, he would have started. He also tore his ACL, but that's pretty much it. They have still have good depth at corner, though. I think we'll get into Ron Bland. Boy, does he give up plays? He's given a massive amount of production. But again, it is a deep secondary. Their offensive line, which we'll talk about, is playing really, really well. I haven't heard much about Monty Smith. We'll ask Greg Cosell and or Jason if he's seen him. We haven't heard much about Monty Smith, but overall, they're healthy and they've had a couple of little minor lineup changes, which we'll get into when we do the matchups. It's kind of interesting, but it's a different offense that they're running, folks. It's completely different. Well, it's more aggressive now from McCarthy, which is not what we expect from him, but the scheme's different. But man, this is not good that the Eagles are not stopping anybody. So this is an interesting game. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, one guy to sort of keep an eye out from an injury standpoint. I mean, he should be fine in play. I know Rico Dowdell, their backup running back, who really was not a factor early in the year, but I think he's had a couple of nice showings as they get later into the season. I know he's dealing with an ankle.
Yeah, he's good to go. Yeah, he's had us for a couple weeks. He's good to go. So that's it, man. It's Luke Schoonmaker, the rookie tight end, it was a little bit of a surprise that he went in the second round from Michigan.
Yeah.
He had a plantar fascia injury, so he was kind of limited earlier in the season. We should mention this. He just came off of IR. Peyton Hendershot, who was their number 2 tight end, he just got activated this week. He's actually on the roster and is expected to play. So this helps them when they want to go 12 personnel. This really helps him because he can block. He's a willing blocker. Mm-hmm. But overall, look, and I'm glad, as you said earlier, the Eagles are getting healthier. And we don't have to worry about weather. Thank goodness. Enough of this damn weather crap.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. It's not going to rain. How about that? Well, I mean, it's indoors anyway, but yeah. But wait, in that stadium, they still have the big thing in the roof, right? Like, so technically,
I think AT&T. I was for the Super Bowl. I was there in 2009 or 10, whenever the hell it opened. I was there for the Packer-Steeler one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. I thought they had the ability to open it up. It doesn't matter because I looked at the forecast and it's going to be fine. So thank goodness. And if you like the over, I know the over-under is almost to the point. It's the over-under total is like exactly what the last game score was, like maybe 52 points or something like that.
Yeah.
But Goddard, unless he gets hurt again, Goddard's going to play a lot.
Yep.
And the Cowboys' offense has been ridiculous, really, lately.
Yeah, it is. So let's get into it. We'll get into the matchups now. Eagles offense against the Cowboys defense. We'll start off with first. Now, it's not that I disagree with you. It's that I feel like the Eagles need to refocus a little bit offensively. The quarterback is struggling. Let me just give you some of the numbers on the quarterback over the last 4 weeks. His passer rating is 84.1. That's 21st. His completion percentage is 59.2. That's 25th. All right. His yards per attempt. This is a guy who him and Tua were neck and neck last year on yards per attempt, up around 9, right? 6.6 at 22nd. And passing success rate, 42.6. That's 20th. So over the past 4 weeks, this offense, I'm not putting all of those numbers on Jalen Hurts by any stretch of the mean, but the offense has not been great. And I feel like it's okay to say we need to go back to some basics, simplify some things. I thought in the beginning of the year, they did a really nice job of on the first 15 plays, Adam, alternating out of 11 and 12 and 11 and 12, and then opening it up into 11, which, they should be more 11. They should always be more 11 unless they're winning big in the fourth quarter and want to go to 12 to run the ball, but they should always be more 11. But I like when they open up and get the quarterback in a little rhythm with the RPOs, running a little bit, throwing to the running back, the quick game, before you just come out and start bombs away, which is what I felt like they were trying to do against the Niners a little bit. Now, that's part of the whole syndrome, right? When they smell the blood, they want to go for it. But right now, they're not, to me, they're not in a good enough rhythm to be able to capitalize on smelling the blood in the water. So I would like to see them kind of get back to what they were doing in September and October. Whether they do that or not is remains to be seen.
All right. So off that, you stole my thunder on that one, but I'll just back you up and take this to another level. So the one thing, and I look, if you folks have been with us for many years, I'm a throw the ball guy. However, with an asterisk, I've always felt that there's a way to calm a quarterback down who's struggling. Hurts is not playing well. I mean, we all see it. He's not cutting it loose, which is a coaching term. John T. Filippo's told us this when John's watched tape for us on Patreon. He said when Hurts is not playing, he needs to cut it loose. When he's not playing at his highest level like he was last season, he's not cutting it loose. So I don't know why. Only he knows. His line's healthy. So I know covering these quarterbacks over the years, when guys struggle, sometimes it's because they're worried about what's in front of them, their offensive line. There's just something in their own head sometimes. But Swift has got to get the ball more. I don't understand the usage lately. Very odd. Again, they're not a running team. We get that going in. They're not. However, there's nothing wrong with trying to help your quarterback a little bit, settle down a little bit. And also, they need to get the ball out of his hands. He's got to stop holding the ball. I don't understand that part of it. And the best way to do it is go over their opening play script, get the ball out of his hands, get him comfortable, get him accurate, then expand the passing game as he feels better about what's going on. And because you just gave the accuracy numbers. Mm-hmm. Look how unbelievably accurate he was last season. And by the way, very rarely did we talk about him not cutting it loose last season. Isn't it amazing?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's very doable. I think he is, like many quarterbacks, a rhythm quarterback, and you just have to find the way to get him back in the rhythm. So I actually put this more on the coaches. Brian Johnson has taken some deserved criticism lately, but to me, it's not just about Brian. It's about Nick. It's about Kevin Batul. And I know maybe this is like, saying something about the Golden Goose, but Geoff Stoutland is the run game coordinator and a big part of their run game. And their run game, to be honest, has sucked for the last few weeks. So Geoff Stoutland has to take a little bit of a look in the mirror and say, okay, defenses are doing things against us. They're stopping our run. I got to be a little bit more in my bag offensively to make sure that we can run the ball effectively again, because there's no reason for us not to. We have a very good offensive line, if not one of the best, right? And we have a quarterback who can run, and we have a really good running back group headed by DeAndre Swift, as you mentioned. So let's go back to the drawing board here a little bit and figure out the best way to spring our running game. So what we do run, we're more effective than what was it? 9 carries for 18 yards. They were horrible running the ball against the Niners. They're like a 0% success rate. That you can't have that.
And we're not used to that. Now, part of it is Hurts is not the big part of the run game started with him last year. We're just not seeing that. I don't.
Right,
and I don't buy it because of his knee.
But real quick, that's where I think that there's that's an excuse to say why they may not be as explosive, but they still have a very good offensive line and a good running back. They should be able to run the ball. Right. Like when Minshew came in last year, he wasn't running RPOs. They were still able to run the ball at times. So they've got to be able to run the ball.
Yeah. So whether it's changing the blocking scheme a little bit to get things going, Juergens is back. Obviously he's been back for a couple weeks. I don't quite understand it. Very well said. It's no more excuses. They got to do a better job, because we've lauded this coaching staff, and rightfully so. How good have they've been phenomenal, really, since Nick came in here. But they got to get things going. They got to look at themselves. And look, Brian Johnson, I think some of it's warranted, some of it's not. Mm-hmm. But they got to look at what they're not doing well. What the crossers. Yeah, they had a couple last week. Got to bring that intermediate passing game back. Really got to do that because AJ Brown's unreal at it. Yes, vertically he was great too last season. Got to get that going, and Goddard's got to help them open this up because it's like we said when they got AJ Brown. Who are you going to cover when they got things going? And you saw this last year. It happened. The Eagles were dynamic offensively in their pass game because they had 3 incredible pass targets. Now you add Swift. Again, yeah, the targets more or less have been there, but there are no explosives with them. They got to get that going too. That's another part of this coming out of the bye. They got to be better with that.
So as we talk about their offense against Dallas defense, I do think there's some avenues here where the Eagles can get back on track fairly well. And for the first time in 3 weeks, Adam, they're playing a team that doesn't specialize in playing like 75% zone the way the Niners
they're
did,
heavy man.
and the way the Bills did. The Cowboys are going to play a heavy man, as you mentioned, and you just saw last week, even the few times that the Niners played man, especially early on, you saw that quick slant to AJ Brown. You saw it quick to Quez Watkins. The Eagles have really good man beaters. So they should be able, especially if they use that quick game, and if they can get Dallas, think and run a little bit, doing, kind of on their toes, then the Eagles should be able to create explosive plays using their playmakers as long as they block it up.
Yeah, I see when they come out, I'm very interested because Dallas plays such a high degree of man compared to other teams. And we know, as Avant's told us, since we've been working with Jason, receivers love man coverage. And AJ Brown should be able to not Trayvon Diggs. Deron Bland is filling in for him, man. He got roasted by DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he crushed them. Fully crushed them.
Yes.
So to me, again, that's why I set up the throw ball game. They should have plenty of success. They should have no trouble. They should be able to move the football. Remember the first Dallas game, got hurt in that game. Was it a rain game too? Am I right about that?
Was it a what game? I'm sorry, a rain game?
The raining game? First Dallas game?
No, Kansas City was a rain game, and Buffalo.
Buffalo definitely was. Yeah. Okay. So the bottom line is they got a healthy group of pass targets here. You got to be able to beat these guys. I don't care how deep Dallas is. They're not. Geno Smith tore them apart because they play so much man. Geno was great against man. He tore them apart. Mm-hmm. This is a offensive playmaker's dream going against Dallas's defense. If you protect, I know some games, if you don't protect, they could be a problem. Dan Quinn's a good defense coordinator, but if anyone, Stephon Gilmore's a good player, he's not elite anymore. Still good, but go after Bland then. If you think getting the Gilly lock is still there, get Jordan Lewis, get him. Go after Deron Bland, everyone else is. Yeah, if he doesn't make the big play, he's giving it up. So yeah, I don't want to hear any excuses for the Eagles offense anymore. They gotta, if they can't get it going against them, we're going to really start wondering what the heck is going on around here.
Yeah, if you remember, the Eagles scored touchdowns on 2 of their first 3 possessions against Dallas, and then 4 of their first 6 possessions. They got off to a really good start. It was the fourth quarter where they just had a couple of 3 and outs, and I think they had a couple penalties, right? Things were going. You had the Gainwell touchdown run early. You had Hurts having the tush push, and then the Devontae Smith 21-yarder, and then the AJ Brown 4-yarder. So they were really rolling, and then it kind of like that was it from there. So they just have to have that killer instinct in the fourth quarter and not let Dallas hang around or get in the game. But the Eagles averaged almost 6 yards, I believe, per play in that game. So I agree with you. They're maybe a little over top saying you should feast off Dallas's defense because this is a top 5 defense that Dallas has, but the man coverage element of it should create great opportunities, especially if Dallas Goedert can come back. Not that Curse is an easy get, but it just makes you more complete as an offense to be able to do whatever you want to do.
Understand, let's when you see the context matters. Let's look at who they've beaten, okay? Let's look at who they've played, okay?
Fair.
Chargers offense has struggled for weeks. They smoked the Rams at home. The Rams offense has mostly been bad. With Matthew Stafford finally played well last week. They played the Giants. They smoked the Giants, a terrible offense. Terrible offense. They smoked the Panthers. They They shut down Sam Howell for the most part. They did a pretty good job. I'll give them credit.
Better than the Eagles.
Yeah, exactly. Geno Smith tore them absolutely apart. By the way, they got absolutely smoked by Brock Purdy. So context matters. Their defense
Yes,
isn't that good.
that is
It's
fair.
about who they played.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Like if you were to just say how did they do against teams with winning records, that would just be Seattle, Philadelphia,
Niners
Niners. Do
crushed
the
them.
Rams have a
Crushed
winning
them.
record?
Not then they didn't. No, but boy,
But I think they
turned
were
their season
banged
around.
up when they played the Cowboys, right? They didn't really. I don't think they had Cup in that game, so that's why the Rams didn't
I will
score a lot
tell
either.
you.
Yeah.
Look at you. No, well, no, he played. He played.
Did he? Oh, okay.
They did. I'll give him credit. They did a good job. But again,
Yeah,
Stafford has not played well. He's had a tough year. He played better last week, but he hasn't looked really good. So yeah, context matters, man. I'm not.
yeah.
Dan Quinn's an excellent D coordinator. That's not the issue. The issue is they're severely overrated on defense. I'm telling you, that game, and I understand that was an isolated game early in the season. They were so bad at the Niners. Terrible defensively. Terrible.
Yeah. Well, obviously with Quinn's style, they'll give up plays because they're gonna play a lot of man and they're gonna blitz. They're gonna come after you.
You just nailed it. That's it. If you can protect against teams that play man, get one-on-one matchups, I believe in this Eagles pass target group is phenomenal. They could absolutely get him. And Purdy, Geoff had 4 touchdowns and 24 attempts against them. I mean, come on.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Yeah, well, and the Niners, man, they own the Cowboys.
They own everyone right now.
They do. They really, really do. All right, let's get into this Eagle. Good segue to talking about the Eagles defense against the Cowboys offense. First, man, Adam, I had to have takeout tonight. I got to be honest with you. I just had no time to make a meal. Had to have takeout, and I sort of had takeout remorse after. It wasn't great. Paid a lot of money for it. Not really thrilled about it, and it made me miss our friends at Hello Fresh. Right? This is why we love Hello Fresh. They deliver farm fresh food with pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes right to our doorstep. No wasting time at the grocery store because America's #1 meal kit helps make home cooking easy, efficient, and affordable. With HelloFresh, the shopping's already done and the perfect amount of ingredients arrive with step-by-step recipe cards. Doesn't get more efficient than that. Plus, HelloFresh saves you time and money. It's 25% less expensive than takeout, so you get a good home-cooked meal without digging deep into your wallet. That's where the remorse for me is coming in. Don't forget about the taste and selection. They got food for if you like meat, chicken, turkey, steak, seafood. If you're a vegetarian, vegan, they got stuff for you too. It's great. Shrimp and stir fry, risotto, any kind of recipe you can think of, they have it. So go to HelloFresh.com/50Eagles and use the code 50Eagles. That's 50 Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh.com/50Eagles and use the promo code 50Eagles, 50 Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. Act now for America's #1 meal kit. All right. So Cowboys offense against this Eagles defense that really Adam needs to. I feel like you and I could very easily give the benefit of the doubt to the offense to get itself together, get back on track.
I agree.
Coaches can figure it out. The defense, I think we've been saying for a couple of weeks now, this is the Eagles defense. You're not going to snap your fingers, or the coaches aren't going to go back, huddle it up, come back out, and all of a sudden they're going to be averaging only allowing 15 points a game. But they definitely can be better. They have sunk to, I believe, 32nd, which is last in the NFL in pass defense. And something noted by Greg Cosell with Clay Harbor that we'll talk about more on Sunday is they're not getting a pass rush anymore. That's the area where I think that they've got to be able to improve.
I don't know what's happened since that Miami game where they were terrific, week 7. It's been steadily downhill. I know the schedule's been really tough, the gauntlet, but man, the third down defense is atrocious, awful. The worst rated third down defense right now in the National Football League. They don't do anything well. To be honest with you, they don't get their pressure numbers they have okay, but their sack numbers are poor. Pressure numbers, I call it empty pressure. They got no pressure on Purdy, please. Last week.
No. And their blitz numbers are terrible. Like quarterback rating against it's like everybody's Joe Montana against their blitz.
Stop with the blitz, the quarterback crowd. Stop. Just stop. They don't blitz well. The coaches have to figure out a better way to disguise what's not. Dak is playing out of his mind. He hasn't played like this in years. In fact, this streak, 20 touchdowns in 6 games, only 2 turnovers, I believe. Now, I know context matters. He's had a nice schedule, but okay. But he also ripped the Eagles. He crushed them. Other than that one bad gaffe, he crushed them. So they got to get pressure on this guy. And I'm telling you, folks, Brandon Cooks looks revitalized. He had a great training camp. He just had an MCL sprain earlier this season. But he looks great. CeeDee Lamb right now is the best receiver in the National Football League with his numbers.
Amazing.
It's ridiculous what he's doing. Jake Ferguson, he is a seam tight end, number 87. He's been phenomenal. And here's the little subtle change they've made, this lineup change. Though Michael Gallup is supposed to be, a downfield guy, Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama, who did nothing last season as a rookie, he's more or less their third receiver right now. He's kind of taken over. He's moved up above Gallup. It's not about snaps. It's clearly about role, and Tolbert's over him. So, look, you spread the Eagles out, which they're going to do. Brian Schottenheimer has really had a great influence on McCarthy. They're super aggressive together, and it's coming, folks. They're going to attack. And Pollard with Zeke was perfectly paired as a changeup. And then he more or less became the starter in the second half last season, but Zeke would handle the dirty work.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Pollard's not as effective as they probably expected. Probably why they didn't extend it. That's why they didn't give him a new contract. He's on the franchise tag. But you can't sleep on this guy. He's still got some juice in him. You never know in the pass game, especially. But overall, man, Dak is on an absolute roll, and the pass attempt numbers, which Mike McCarthy's never been like this before. But folks, it's coming. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see what the Eagles' game plan is here.
Yeah, one thing that Dak is doing well, I mean, he's doing a lot of things well, but one thing that is sort of, I don't want to call it new, but it seems like a reprisal from before he had that really gruesome ankle injury a couple of years ago, is he's starting to get outside the pocket in positive ways again and starting to use his leg. He might run for a first down. We saw this against the Eagles. He did, he stepped out of bounds when he probably, if he doesn't do that, the Cowboys may win that game. Right on was it on the 2-point conversion or something? Where he kind of got edged and then stepped out of bounds before going in. But he is using his feet and legs more, not just to run, but also to buy time. And that has been problematic for some of the defenses they played. So that's what they have to face. And obviously, unless the Cowboys are just dumb, they're going to probably feature a decent amount of bunch formations, trips formations, some of the stuff that has really confused the Eagles defense. And you mentioned it earlier, with them drafting Lou Schoonmaker in the second round, it's like, I wonder if they realize what they had in Jake Ferguson, because he's really come on and become a good receiving tight end who you can use with CeeDee Lamb in those bunch and trips formations and cause problems in matchups.
All right, on your point, okay, so Kevontae Turpin, their special teams returner, scored against the Eagles on a pass in the red zone.
Yep.
He's got some juice, so on an end around or ghost motion, you take an inside handoff, you worry about that. That's on your point, very, very spot on. Ferguson crushed the Eagles in the first game, 7 for 91 in the touchdown. He had a 40-yard play. Tolbert scored against them. This is just not good. I mean, this is not good. If you like, I'd be stunned if this game doesn't go over the total. I don't usually talk about this stuff, but I just felt like all week, the way the Cowboys are going now. Now watch the Eagles all of a sudden play great defense out of the blue here. I mean, it's just
it could happen. Listen, it could happen. I think we expect the Eagles to be pretty fired up, right? We talked about that last pod.
Sure.
Sure. We didn't even mention Brandon Cooks, by the way. Who has been better for the last few weeks. Oh yeah, you did. That's right.
Yeah. He had the MCL sprain early. Now he didn't do anything against the Eagles in the first matchup because he didn't really need to.
Right.
But I think the Cowboys would tell you that they moved the ball at will, but they only scored 23 points. And they had over 400 yards of offense. So I'm sure they're going to figure out what the heck happened. Obviously, the gaffes in the red zone is ridiculous. But that was the heart attack game. It was the first of many heart attack games for the Eagles this season. But bottom line is, it's going to be hard. And it's the energy, they got to have their energy. Dallas is another team that's well rested to going against the Eagles here. It's ridiculous that teams are getting this kind of rest against the Eagles. Schedule makers should have done a better job with it. Bottom line, they got to play with way better discipline on the back end. And the players have talked about the communication on the back end. It's got to be at its all-time high because you're talking about two veterans in McCarthy and Schottenheimer, and they see what they see. Dak's on an absolute fat roll here, and you know what's coming. He had 44 attempts in the first game. That was an overtime game. Was that an overtime game? Was this the Buffalo game?
The Buffalo game was overtime.
Yeah, right. So it was
Cowboys did everything in their power to make sure the game didn't go into overtime.
Yes, right, because they stupid gaffes. But anyway, now I say all this, and we've seen them because you alluded to this. The Eagles' defense was playing pretty well for about 5 or 6 games, and then the bottom has fallen out.
Mm-hmm.
Desai's a smart guy. And this is something I've wondered, and we'll ask Jason and Greg on Sunday. I just think there's too much volume in what he's asking to do because you've talked about it with the coverages. If communication is a problem because they're giving them too much to communicate about, you've got all these new players on defense, particularly on the back end, also linebacker as well. Then stop asking them to do so much because it's not working right now.
I agree with that. I think Sean Desai needs to have probably have powwowed with his coaches this week, and he seems like a quiet guy, but I think, we talk about coaching your coaches, right? And if not Sean, then maybe even Nick Sirianni. The first person or people I'm talking to this week saying this has to stop right now is the secondary, is DK McDonald, because it's one thing to not have good personnel. Like, for example, James Bradbury is struggling. They've done what they can do. They've moved him off the boundary right there. But if he gets beat over the top because he's just struggling, I don't know if they can scheme that, but there is no longer, and there shouldn't have been weeks ago, an excuse for guys not understanding their roles and responsibilities in coverage on these trips and bunch formations. Like, I get it. I know you've been rolling guys in and out, but this should be the focus every day in practice all week long. And maybe it is, and they're still not getting it. I have a hard time believing it, but these are just executing fundamentals. There was a play against the 49ers. We brought it up last in the pod on Wednesday that I just couldn't believe happened because you had two guys again covering one receiver while the other one, Juwan Jennings, just broke through the middle. Yeah. That is embarrassing. That is not championship level coaching. It's not championship level. It's embarrassing because it shouldn't happen once, and it's been happening all year long. So this is the game where it has to stop. It has to stop. And if it doesn't, Adam, I'm going to say, if we see this happen again and burn them at bad times, I might just say in the postgame show, this team will not win a Super Bowl if that's the case. I don't care if they go 14 and whatever tho. If you're going to be that loose and that unfundamentally sound on routine, scissors routes, then you're done. I'm very fired up about it. I'm passionate about it.
I could tell, yeah.
Talk
you
about
barely
bad
get it
football.
out,
like, come on, beat over the top. Okay, your speed's not there anymore. Fine, I get it. But not being able to cover the guy you're supposed to cover week in and week out is just wrong.
It's funny because last week's in fact, I don't think Bradbury got a pass. I don't think he was credited with a pass against him, if I'm not mistaken. If he did, it was only 1 or 2.
Yeah.
What's that?
You talking about against the Niners?
But yeah. I don't think Bradbury had a ball against him, if I'm not mistaken. But bottom line, this is completely different offense. Completely different. They're not about balance here. I think there was Zeke gone. They're going to be aggressive. Let's see what happens. The tape tells you that they know it's coming. The numbers show you. And I'm so interested to see what happens here because we've got a revitalized Dak who's thrown well in the run. He's roll out to the right off of 1 foot. I'm like, whoa, where's this been last year?
Yeah.
So it's coming, folks. We'll see if they can hold up.
All right. Step up game also from Josh Sweat. He's had 1 sack in the last 5 weeks. It did come against Dallas at a big time, but bad penalties last week. And he just hasn't, who's the left tackle? Tyron Smith.
They're playing great. By the way, their line is playing outstanding football. We should mention that.
It is. He played well against Josh Sweat. I know Sweat had 1 sack, but there were a lot of snaps where he was dominated. And who lines up? Oh, Reddick's got to beat Terrence Steele. If there's one weakness, right?
Yeah.
Terrence Steele. You got to be able to own him if you're getting him in 1-on-1.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good stuff. Let's finish this off as we always do. We'll get to our score predictions in a second. First, want to remind everybody to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at phlsportsnation.com and on Twitter at phlsportsnation. Now we're going to get into our picks. Remember, the Eagles, according to our friends at MyBookie, are underdogs again. They went 11 straight weeks being favorites. Now they're underdogs for the second straight week, according to MyBookie. They are 3.5-point underdogs. Let's talk about the beauty of MyBookie. It's not just about watching games. It's about turning every second into a potential win. With MyBookie, you can stream the games and live bet them and turn any game day into a payday. You ready to up your game? Sign up today and make your first deposit with promo code THEBIRDS. That's one word, THEBIRDS, for a sweet deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's promo code THEBIRDS, THEBIRDS, one word, to claim your bonus. It's not just a promo code, folks. It's your secret weapon to get the extra edge on the house. And the best part is you don't even have to be a sports whiz to win. In MyBookie, you can cash in on everything from politics, your favorite shows, and then some. Bet anything, anytime, and anywhere, only with MyBookie. All right, Adam, 3.5-point underdogs. And as you mentioned, the total last I checked on MyBookie was 52.5, which is a big number. A lot of points. What do you think?
Yeah, it was 2.5 or 3. Now it's up to 3.5. Wow. I've got it. Cowboys 30, Eagles 33.
Ooh, going with the Eagles. All right. All right.
How about that, huh? I've only picked against them. Well, I've only got them wrong once. It was the Jets game.
Yeah.
My thinking is this. They last two seasons, I don't think if they lost back-to-back last two seasons?
No.
I think so.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I'm going to double check.
They did not lose
Oh, they
back-to-back
did.
last
Technically, they did last year in weeks 16 and 17, but Hurts did not start both of those games. Remember
was it the
Minshew?
Saints game, right?
Right. So, well, Cowboys. Yeah. Yes. So Hurts has not lost back-to-back games the last two seasons.
Mm-hmm.
This is a pride game. It's. I know it's hard to say because it's Cowboys, Eagles, but let me explain this. It's less about the rivalry. It's about your pride. It was embarrassing last week. They may be tired. Who knows what the issue was? But the bottom line is, this is the whole country's watching. They were embarrassed against the Niners who came into their house and crushed them. It's a pride game. And they're, by the way, Eagles' best road team in the National Football League since 2021. Got a lot of belief in this coaching staff and these players. Yeah, they may not be as good as last year, which we told everyone to start the season. That didn't mean they couldn't get back to the Super Bowl because the rest of the league isn't that great. But they've got a lot of pride. They're mentally tough. And look, they got taken to the woodshed. I believe they're going to react really well, and they're going to find a way to win this game. It could be ugly at times for the defense. I'd be shocked if they gave up less than like 24 points. Boy, if they do that, they must have Dak would have to regress to the Dak who was struggling last year. So we'll see what happens.
Interesting. All right, I'm going to take a left turn on this. By the way, if you're correct with the Eagles winning, that would snap a 14-game win streak that the Cowboys have right now at AT&T Stadium.
And I know they're great at home.
Yeah, to your point, the last time Jalen Hurts lost back-to-back games was 2021 when they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you recall, on Thursday Night Football with Tom Brady. And then the following week, they were 2-4. Then they went out to the Vegas and lost to Vegas. Remember, they were trying to run the ball in that game. That was the first time that they really tried to be the running team, and it fell behind. But then after that, they beat the Lions next week, and everything's 44-6, and it all started the run year that the fans loved 2 years ago.
I totally forgot about that. I'll never forget that, where out of the blue, they became a run. I'd never seen this before in the National Football League, where a team in season with the same quarterback decides, you know what, it's not working. We're just going to become a running team. And they did, and they were great. Can't make it up, but it happened. It's a true fact.
It was awesome. And even though that feels like yesterday, it was, it's 2 years ago. It's more than 2 years ago now. So it's crazy how long ago that was. And that's how long it's been since Jalen Hurts lost back-to-back starts. I'm taking a left turn. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game.
Really?
I feel like the Eagles defensive line knows it has to step up this game. It knows it has to dominate this game. I don't know if they're going to just completely one-side it, but they're going to hold Dallas down to a little bit. And I see the Eagles squeezing this one out. Very similar to the last score. It might be the same score. I'm going to pick 28-23 Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow. Oh, you're going to take the Birds. Okay.
Yep. I'm with you, and which would be a
Well,
cover and an under. And
okay.
now a warning to everybody who watches the pregame show and listens to the podcast: my picking this year sucks. So, but you're
Mine's pretty good, and
leading us. You're leading us. You have the best
yeah, and
record.
I've gotten when I've liked the games to go over, I've been right more than I've been wrong. But this, look, anything could happen, as you said. I mean, this is a pride game, but it's just going to be the matchups are very bad for the Eagles secondary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the worst possible matchup. But you know what? This is why they play games. Nobody has any idea what's going to happen. It's going to be a fun game. It's another national TV game, and then they got another one after that, Monday Night Football the following week, which got flexed to Monday night. Here we go, folks.
Rev it up. Start the engines. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. As always, we thank you for flying with us inside the Birds.